Actually, KTM had previously stated that there would be no E2 bikes from the orange brand above the A1 class. However, that doesn't seem to apply to the Freeride, as they have just announced a brand new KTM Freeride E, an electric enduro, set to launch in 2025. Let's take a look at what it offers. Hello everyone, and thanks for tuning in. As you surely know, we're in the middle of autumn, which means it's the peak season for new motorcycle model announcements for the coming year. Among these is a small surprise from KTM. I mentioned this in the intro. We weren't expecting more powerful electric bikes from KTM, at least not ones larger than the A1 segment. Even the Freeride, previously known as the Freeride EXC, had been somewhat in the background for a while. There hadn't been many updates. They did release a 2023 Freeride EXC, but I didn't feel like it was a focus for KTM or that they planned any significant updates for it. The Freeride has been around for 10 years now. It's a competition hard enduro bike with an electric engine, and when it came out 10 years ago in 2014, it was quite innovative, almost a pioneer in this segment. Back then, there were no Surons or Zeros, and electric bikes weren't so mainstream, so it's cool that KTM is launching a completely new version for 2025. According to KTM, 99% of the parts are new, including a new motor, battery, chassis, updated suspension, and even redesigned peripherals and aesthetics. If we look at the key specs, not much has changed. The electric motor still has a rated output of 11 kilowatts and a peak output of 19 kilowatts, previously 18 kilowatts. The torque is now 37 Newton meters, down from 42 Newton meters previously. And the top speed, it's now 95 kilometers per hour. Yeah, the key specs haven't changed much here, but I believe in this segment, there's probably no need to push out much more power, especially with an electric drive. You quickly run into a dilemma because more power output usually means less range. So how do things look in that regard? In principle, you can manage it through the onboard control electronics. There are 3 riding modes now: Eco, Normal, and Sport. Additionally, we have 3 levels of regenerative braking, or what KTM calls energy recovery settings, which are off, medium, and high. This means you can recover some energy when going downhill. There's also adjustable traction control that lets you regulate the allowed slip on the rear wheel. And if the bike tips over, there's a tip-over sensor, similar to what you'd find on combustion engine motorcycles, which ensures that the power is cut off and no energy is sent to the rear wheel. So you can control and influence the range depending on which power mode you're using and how much regeneration is activated. But in principle, the power capacity of the electronics is handled by a 29 kilogram MX50 lithium-ion battery. It has a capacity of 5.5 kilowatt hours, which is 1.5 kilowatt hours more than before. According to KTM, this should provide about 20% more riding time or range. Now, of course, if you look at the numbers and you know that 5.5 kilowatt hours means this battery can deliver 5.5 kilowatts for 1 hour, and since the nominal power is 11 kilowatts, that means if you were to constantly draw those 11 kilowatts, the battery would be empty in half an hour. So how far can you actually go? Well, it's also clear that when riding an enduro, you're not constantly at full throttle or drawing the maximum or nominal power the whole time. The thing is, this is a hard enduro, mainly used in technical terrain. There's a lot of balancing, short bursts of throttle, then letting off the gas, maybe a hill climb, followed by a long downhill section. So how do you estimate the range in this context? KTM estimates a typical enduro ride time of 2 to 3 hours, and they've said that's what it's designed for, and the battery should hold up for that. Additionally, the battery is swappable, so you can bring a second battery along and swap it out between rides. KTM even suggests you could take an extra battery with you on trips to extend the range. However, I think what they really mean is that you'd likely have the enduro on a trailer or in a transporter, use one battery in the morning and another one in the afternoon. This bike obviously isn't designed for long distance travel on the road, because in that case, you'd use more throttle, reducing the range significantly. And honestly, who wants to strap a 30 kilo battery pack onto a hard enduro for swapping? So you have to understand the concept correctly. Regarding the battery's lifespan, it's always a relevant topic for batteries. It's expected to handle several charge cycles before its effectiveness drops to about 80%. How do you charge it? There's a supplied charger with a 660 watt output designed to be used with a regular household outlet. From 0 to 100% charge takes about 8 hours, and after 4 to 5 hours of charging, you'll reach 20% to 80%. So that's the powertrain, which sounds similar on paper, but has some differences, especially in the control system. Of course, it's clear why this electric drivetrain works so well for enduros and technical terrain. You get instant torque and powerful response from the electric motor, which you can utilize perfectly. Moving on to other aspects, like the fact that there's no gearbox or clutch on board. That means both brakes are on the handlebars. KTM argues that this gives you more freedom of movement on the bike, allowing you to better focus on body positioning and movement techniques in the terrain without needing to worry about your feet or clutch control, which could take away some of your concentration. As for the chassis, we have a newly developed chrome molybdenum frame. The motor and battery architecture are load-bearing components. The suspension has also been updated. Now we've got the latest generation of WP suspension. At the front, there's a WP X-Act fork, 43 millimeters in diameter, in a split design. The left side has the air chamber, and the right side contains the oil damping system. You can increase the preload with the included air pump, and rebound and compression can be adjusted via clicker knobs. At the rear, we have the latest generation of the WP-XX Plor PDS shock absorber, which has also been updated. The oil flow has been optimized to make the damping feel even smoother and more predictable. New bearing seals are also being used to increase the service intervals of the suspension. And of course, this shock is fully adjustable as well. That pretty much brings us towards the end, as there isn't much more to mention on a hard enduro. One more thing to note is the brake tag braking system, which comes with the same dimensions as on the previous Freeride, a 260mm disc at the front and a 240mm disc at the rear. Now, on to the important bit, the price. Unfortunately, it hasn't been announced yet, but the 2023 Freeride EXC is listed in the KTM shop at just under 12,900 euros in Austria, and the new model certainly won't be cheaper, so we're looking at over 13,000 euros. Maybe it helps to know that the KTM Freeride is developed and produced entirely in Austria. Now, for availability, the new Freeride models are expected to leave the factory in Mattighofen in December, and from January 2025, they should be available at KTM dealers in showrooms. Finally, for me, the most exciting question is about the potential of this bike. This surprise investment from KTM is significant because developing a new model costs a lot of money. What do you think of its potential? I think I still owe you the weight. It's said to weigh 113 kilograms in ready-to-ride condition. Looking at the specs, including the range, I find it intriguing because I think an electric drivetrain fits well with an enduro. Feel free to disagree with me, but when riding through forests and similar areas, it's nice to be a bit quieter. If we follow that thought further, I'd say that especially when enduro riding through landscapes, where you're not on private motocross or enduro grounds but passing through environments where other people are, it's beneficial to be quieter or move silently as an electric drivetrain allows to avoid drawing attention or disturbing anyone. But you definitely can't go on an enduro hike with such a limited range, and it's probably too Spartan, sporty and firm for that kind of use. I really see it more as a competition enduro for technical riders who want to tackle hill climbs, rocky terrain, or maybe single trails like the enduro red stick terrain we have here. For that purpose, I think it might be nice to have just a quiet hum in the background, but on such terrain, noise probably isn't really a big issue anyway. Though maybe I'm wrong about that. I want to hear your opinions in the comments. What do you think about the new KTM Freeride E 2025? And that's it for now. Just a quick update on this new release, and there will be plenty more videos coming about other motorcycle brands and their new models. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Take care.